So yeah, so you don't do like content creation or anything like that, so it's probably kind of like a culture shock when you show up. You said Melina was like sticking a camera in your face pretty quickly. Most women who go on are there just to like play the part so that they get a lot of views on their OnlyFans or their Instagram or whatever, and so
one-liners at people. Otherwise I'm gonna end up like MLD, just fucking drunk in a chair, fucking spouting random ass shit. He was just sitting next to me. He reeked. He really smelled like if you were to go into a 13-year-old locker room with a bunch of 13-year-old boys, like he kept on getting up, going to the bathroom, taking shots. Like there was like a whole entire 12-pack of White Claws, and I think he's the one who drank them. It was just uncomfortable for me, and it really made me even more irate than I already was. You know, I don't want to fucking leave because some guy's touching me, you know. I don't know. I'm not like fucking calling him Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not saying, oh, Brian's next guest next week will be fucking Harvey Weinstein. And I'm not saying that at all. Yeah, like, I mean, I'm fucking fine with that. But, like, I don't really like him mentioning me on other shows and shit. Like, how he had to deal with autism, like.
Malls.
No?
Mine's just downtown. Yeah.
Oh, based.
Yeah.
So it doesn't...
Really?
From trying to find equality and complete and total parity between the sexes and the genders in like a one-to-one way. I think it's less about trying to find this golden mean that's probably
just gonna say, I think it'll reach a point where the cultural entropy will reach a state where people want to do away with these ideas. Like you mentioned, for example, things are going like pretty well if our biggest problem is
Brock here with the 200. Thank you, man. Chase, Proverbs 5, question mark. Unfortunately,
about the adulterous woman. It's a warning against of insight, that you may maintain discretion and your lips may preserve knowledge. For the lips of the adulterous woman.
You guys feel like I'm just like trying to like disagree to disagree.
yeah, you're fine.
One of the best things that a young woman in your shoes can do is tell the guy, feel the energy exchange, and I already had an idea of what it was.
For me than Melina. There's
Watch
probably some
it.
guy. There's probably some guy out there that would be a better match for her than me. But we've got like 4.5 years up to now of history built together that we know.
And like our lifestyle works really well. We match
Yeah.
very well. We want the same things. Like
Yeah. So I think
Now- Conflating the two. It's not necessarily bad to have less children if it means Farha, we haven't
Straight
read
to
this
death.
one.
Do we do
death.
this one?
Yes.
Yeah, the one
Farha
before.
said for $100, thank you, Farha. Chase, sexuality, like a few generations ago, it was like less than 2% of people were homosexual. It was 5%, 10%. Gen Z, they're around.
So what do you go by? Is it Nev?
Yeah, Nev.
Nev? Okay, so Nev, do you want to take, you can call me Tom. Do you want to take a second and introduce yourself? What do you do?
Sure.
How old are you? Where are you from? That sort of stuff.
Okay, I'm Nev, aka NevTheRobot. I am 20 years old, and yeah. I am.
Are you... Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I don't know what else to say.
Where can people find your stuff?
Oh, well, I'm banned on most platforms right now. Instagram is all I really have, so that would be NevTheRobot, just NevTheRobot. How it's.
Yeah, you mentioned in Discord you get banned on a lot of platforms for saying slurs. So just do me a favor, don't get my channel
Okay,
banned,
yeah, no,
please.
no, I won't. I think you promise.
Thank you. So yeah, we saw you on the Whatever podcast and
Yeah.
wanted to chat with you. You went on twice recently.
Yeah.
You were just saying that you think you screwed stuff up, but I guess we can get into that maybe in a little bit. So how did they find you actually? Is it through Instagram?
So yeah, I think they found me through Instagram. A lot of people say that they reach out to them, but they actually reached out to me first. I'm assuming it's because I went to this event at the local college called Deltopia, and since Brian is from the area, he must have been like searching through Deltopia posts. It's basically like this 2-day, 1-day event where it's like a huge party like during the daytime.
Oh, wow.
And like I don't know, he must have seen like a picture of me in a bikini or something, assumed that I was a whore, assumed that I was, that kind of person, sorry. And just invited me from there. That's just my assumption. So he invited me. I didn't see the message for 2 weeks. I saw it. Then I'm like, oh shit, okay. I hadn't actually watched the podcast before. I don't really have TikTok. I don't really have any of that stuff. And like, frankly, I'm not really interested in podcasts as a whole, but I saw it as an opportunity because I'm like, oh, this guy has a few followers. It could be fun. So yeah, I went on.
So they didn't they didn't ask you like any questions before you went on. They just kind of hit you up and invited you.
Yeah, they just hit me up. They're just like, oh, would you be interested in going on our podcast? I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Sure. Like I have nothing else better to do. So
Do you
I
engage
just-
in any like online communities at all besides?
Yeah, I used to be really, really terminally online, like to an extent where I just wouldn't leave my house. Like a lot of people could probably tell by the way that I like talk, the way that the way my humor is, that I spent most of my time on like 4chan, Discord, and what have you, like just basically rotting in online communities. But as of late, I haven't really been too into them. I've been more flying oriented, which is honestly a good thing. But yeah, I was heavy into online stuff for like most of my life.
That's cool. Do you go to school?
Yeah, I do go to school.
Where do you go to school at?
I'm not saying.
That's okay. Yeah, that's fair. So you get invited on there, and
Yeah.
do you go like check it out first and watch it and see what it's all
Nope.
about? No,
No.
you didn't even watch like
I
an
got-
episode or anything.
I literally raw dogged it. Like I asked a few people like what's it about, then they explain the premise. Oh, they bring a bunch of like girls on there. I'm like, okay, that's all I really need to know. Like I basically raw dogged it, and I showed up dressed as Patrick Bateman because I thought it would be funny. I don't really think a lot of people found that funny, honestly. I thought it was
I thought
But
it
I
was
should've-
funny. I thought it was freaking hilarious.
yeah, like I made my own business card and everything, and then I just showed up. I went there to troll, and yeah, that's it. But then I got invited on a second time, and I think that's where I fucked up, because but yeah.
So you went on to actually troll. So like, were you trolling the whole way through, or eventually were you like, okay, I'm actually gonna start like engaging with these people?
So the first one, I was like kind of doing a bit at the same time. I was kind of like inserting my opinions into the conversation every once in a while. I didn't really want to like, I don't know, like I didn't really know anyone. I felt like, I don't know. I just felt like, I don't know.
That's so
Like,
yeah.
I
It
went
seemed
there to have fun. Is what I'm saying. I went there to have fun. I didn't go
Okay.
there for any politically charged reason. I just went there to have fun and fuck around.
Do you get it? So you said you like got on 4chan and stuff like that. So do you engage in a lot of like political online stuff?
For a bit, yeah. Not too deeply. Not like religiously would I delve into all those political circles. I would just like see shit and I'd either disagree or agree with it. I don't really like,
So what would you consider yourself politically?
I would say that I'm sort of leaning more towards right-wing conservative, sort of. I've actually been on the extreme ends of both. Like I've been like a hardcore liberal, hardcore conservative. I've been in between. I've sort of danced around. But I would say that a lot of my viewpoints are conservative. But at the same time, I'm pretty like, I don't know. I'm pretty like, unless it affects me directly, I don't really give a fuck, which is kind of ironic because I was sitting there criticizing Destiny for his relationship. But,
Okay. Did well, so that's why I was asking actually about your like political affiliation, because it seems
Yeah,
like most of
love
the
you,
stuff
Tom.
you say is fairly conservative leaning for the most part. Are you a Christian?
yeah, pretty much.
So your family's Christian as well, I assume?
hardcore Christian family. I grew up in like almost a Christian cult, I'd say. So I was raised with very intense Christian values, and those sort of like I sort of absorbed that.
Did they
Most of my
watch the Whatever podcast?
dude, my dad saw like 2 minutes of it and turned it off. Like he's like, I can't believe you'd go on that. I can't believe you'd make an embarrassment of yourself like that. I'm like, I
Oh,
don't.
no.
Yeah, like he's like, why would you show up there dressed as Patrick Bateman and not memorize a monologue? What is wrong with you? Like,
Yeah, they did. They wanted some better Patrick Bateman memes, and you were kind of low
Yeah.
on the memes,
yeah,
weren't you?
yeah. But yeah, basically my parents were disappointed. Even like my classmates saw it. All of my classmates saw it. A few people at school actually recognized me from like the first one that I went on, and they're like, "Oh shit," because like the podcast like is filmed like in our area, so a lot of people know about it. So a lot of my classmates were like, "What the fuck, Nev? Like, what the fuck?" Because I take theater, and a lot of them are liberal. And when I went on that podcast, I was like doing the most heinous shit imaginable, and like so they saw it, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And I was just like, I don't know either.
Are they? I mean, it's a freaking massive podcast. Like, it seems like it's only blown up recently. I didn't know much about it until maybe
I
like a
didn't.
month ago.
Yeah, like
They
I
have
said,
like
I didn't know
4
about.
million subscribers now. So
Yeah, I did not know shit about it. Like, if I'm being real, I did not know shit about it. Like I said, I don't have a TikTok. I don't have anything, and most of the people know it from TikTok, like from the TikTok, from like the clips and stuff. So I didn't really know what I was getting into. I thought it was just gonna be like some sort of fun thing, which is fine, you know. I don't really mind. I don't really particularly mind, but like you know, I
did
didn't
you know
expect.
any of the other people on there? Like, did you know who Destiny was or Melina or any of them?
A lot of people didn't believe that I didn't know who Destiny was at first. I genuinely did not know who he was when I first went on the thing and I dissed him on the very first one. I didn't know who he was because, like I said, when I say that I was engaged in online communities, I don't mean like I was like involved with like streamer communities, with content creator communities. I was more so like joining like random Discord servers where it was like there's just some owner, not there's no like if you know what I'm saying. I'd just be like on R9K, if you know what that is, Soch on occasion. Basically 4chan boards. And I don't know. I never really got into like streamers and the like. So
I
I
was
genuinely did not know who he was. But I
Yeah.
knew about Sneeko. I knew about him because I'd seen like Critical's video on him. So a lot of my opinions on Sneeko were like, oh, well, Critical said it. A lot of people are saying that Sneeko's a cuck, so I'm just gonna say Sneeko's a cuck because that is what I've seen. I've seen videos, I've seen proof. So that's basically where that came from.
So yeah, I was gonna say because yeah, you mentioned Sneeko. Do you watch any other like content creators or anybody like that?
No, not really. I don't really I used to be heavy into like I think like during 2017, 2018, 2016, I think that's when I was more into actual content creators rather than just like watching whatever's recommended to me. That's when I was like actually watching people. It was during like the Filthy Frank Max era, you know, the anything for views era. That's when I was like sort of really watching people. But nowadays it's just like I don't really give a fuck. I can't be bothered. Like I'll put on like a true crime video. Like I'll listen to that while I play video games or while I do dishes. But like I'm not like watching anyone for their personality, you know. But there is Gypsy Crusader who I did watch. If you know who that is.
I don't.
It's that one guy who would go on Omegle and like dress as the Joker and stuff. He's
Oh, okay, yeah, I know who
yeah.
you're talking about. Okay, so yeah, so you don't do like content creation or anything like that, so it's probably kind of like a culture shock when you show up. You said Melina was like sticking a camera in your face pretty quickly.
Yeah, kind of, I guess. I'd say so. I mean, I myself have done content creation. Like I've made a Twitch before. I didn't really get too far with that, like because I just didn't really have time. And I did have a YouTube channel for a bit where I'd make like anime kind of oriented content. But in general, no, I didn't really expect that. So I was sort of like, oh, like I don't mind her. Like I don't mind Destiny because like I made up with him at the end. Like I don't mind anyone really. Like I'm not too bothered by anyone in particular. But it was kind of a shock. Like I mean, I don't know. It was sort of like, it kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, oh shit. Like,
I mean, I found you through Instagram. Did you get like a bunch more followers since
so I
going
did.
on the show?
I'm pretty grateful towards that. I'm pretty grateful for that. Like, I kind of like want to figure out what to do with all that now. Like, I kind of like, people are telling me to focus on my own content, so I'm sort of trying to navigate that, because it's just like, it kind of just came overnight. Like, not that anything has happened, not that I'm like anyone, but like, it's sort of like,
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, if you've never really like been into any sort of content creation whatsoever, and then all of a sudden you go onto a show with 4 million subscribers, and then all of a sudden people like me and other shows are reaching out to you to want to talk to you, it probably seems a little shocking at first, I'm sure.
yeah.
So crap, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so
Yeah.
well, I was gonna ask. So you said that you got like a lot of hate after the show. Lots of people were piling on you. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of hate were you getting?
I mean, that's perfectly fine. Let me just say that's perfectly fine for people to hate me, because like, I've spent most of my life playing video games, so I've been in lobbies. I've like had people call me like every name in the book. But the kind of hate that I got, I'd say that it was kind of disproportionate to the kind of hate that I spewed, because people were sending me videos of cats in blenders and videos of people cutting into their arms, like, and playing with the veins and shit. And like, they dug up old posts from my Twitter, which I didn't even know were still up, about like, oh, it's been a year since I attempted suicide. And they were like digging shit up like that, and like saying shit like, oh, like you should try again, shit like that, which is like not that bad, honestly. Like, I don't want to be too sensitive about that shit, but it was sort of like, I'm like, oh, wow, shit. I really pissed people off by calling fat bitches fat, you know? So it
Was
definitely
that the
was.
main thing? Was that the
No,
thing that most people
it was,
were upset about?
no, not at all. I'm just like throwing, I don't know. I know people are upset about like the fact that I'm a pick me, just the way that I was acting, you know? I didn't really expect to like see like graphic ass videos in my DMs. Like, it wasn't, I don't know.
I think it would
But
be weird to call you a pick me, especially when like it seemed like Brian was like getting a little frustrated with you, and he kept being like, dude, chill, and you kept like firing it right back every time. So
yeah,
I wouldn't call you a pick me at all, because yeah, you didn't seem like you cared very much what they thought about you, so you were
yeah,
just
no,
gonna keep going.
I would disagree with that. I think in general I do come off as a pick me, because I guess a lot of my opinions are ones that are more prominent in, I don't know what the fuck people call it, the manosphere. I don't know what the fuck. Like, I have a lot of opinions that seem like I got them directly from men and shit. Like, so in a way, yeah, I would consider myself like, in the eyes of other people, pick me, and that's fine if they think that way of me. It's perfectly fine. But most of the time I just don't give a fuck. Like, as you said, like, I even told Brian that like his parents were related and that he had extra chromosomes, just because I just fucking felt like it. So like, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I am, honestly.
Why did you say that to Brian?
I don't fucking know. Like, he just looked at me, and I just fucking said it. Like, I don't know what the fuck he said. Like, I mean, I said it playfully, of course. Like, I don't ever mean it like when I say shit like that. And I understand that when I say shit like that, like, people can perceive it that, oh, she means it. Oh, she's doing that to be mean. And that's actually something I'm working on. Like, I'm trying to be less mean to people. I'm trying to be less fucking combative. I'm trying to be less, just throwing an insult to a kid. I'm really trying to work on that, because I don't like the way that it makes me look. I don't like it how it makes others feel. So yeah.
Do you only do that when you're like online? Because you said that people at your school were surprised by this. Were they just surprised by the politics, or were they surprised by the way that you were interacting overall?
I think they were surprised by the politics, because I mean, it was my theater class, to be fair. No one in my law classes were surprised by the politics at all, because law, like, it's a very polarizing sort of field of study. So of course I always insert my opinions. But and also, like, I've like attended the protests at school, like whenever people come in like protesting like shit, I'm always on the side of the bad guy, I suppose. So I don't know, but the people in my theater class were very disgusted with me. But one of my closer friends in my theater class was like, Nev, you can't be doing this to yourself. Like, they only want you on there to make fun of you. So it was more like concern, really, I'd say.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I think Erin was trying to point out, and that's why she was like refusing to answer questions. My assumption, I have no idea. I haven't talked to her about it yet, but I assume that's what she was doing, is because other people that I know who have gone on there before kind of said the same thing. They're like, you guys are just, you're just here to like make us look like sluts and make fun of us and be like, oh, look how dumb they are. Look how dumb these, dumb whores are. And so like they're trying to like get back at them in some way. That's at least what it seems like.
At the same time, I'd say like that's your fault for going on this show. But on the same coin, like that's my fault for going on the show too. Like I don't mean to be like a supreme autist, but I would like to reference Joker 2019. If you remember when Joker goes on the Murray show and he's like, "Oh, you brought me on here to make fun of me." That's basically how I sort of feel, but like I'm sort of playing into it at the same time. So I can't get too mad. It's like I'm aware of what's going on. I'm aware that this is content. This is somebody's business. This is somebody's money-making machine. And if I'm a part of that, I'm a part of that. I completely volunteered for that. So yeah. And I feel like people who go on that show to sort of combat the idea that, oh, he only brings on whores, he only brings on sluts, like I feel like they're doing it in vain. Like I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's no use trying to fight it, This is the way that he makes content. He's getting the bread that way.
Well, and I think a lot of women go on with the plan of like proving them wrong. Like I'm just going to be smart. I'm going to know what I'm talking about. I'm going to know more than you, and then I'm going to debate you the whole time and prove how wrong you are. And so that's one strategy, but most women who go on are there just to like play the part so that they get a lot of views on their OnlyFans or their Instagram or whatever. And so it does seem like there's like that's like by far the majority of the women who go on there are just women who are looking to get views on their Instagram.
I do not care, if that's what they want to do, I don't really care. Honestly, I just went on there for fun. Honest to God, like right hand to God, that's why I went on. Like I didn't expect people to actually follow me from that shit because of how autistic I was acting. I mean, I am autistic, but how fucking retarded. Like, can I say the R slur? Is that? I'm just gonna say retarded. Just how fucking retarded I was being. I thought that people would like fucking be like, oh my fucking God, like, bruh, like, but it's sort of like, it is what it.
It doesn't sound like it. I mean, you might be autistic, but it doesn't sound like it's autism if you go on there knowing that you're going to be like trolling. It doesn't sound like it's like an issue with autism that much, is it?
Well, I would say that in the moments where I kind of want to be taken seriously, in the moments where I'm like setting myself up like that, there are some times where I'm not aware. Like what I think it's pretty obvious when I am aware of shit. Like when I pull out my Patrick Bateman card and do that shit, that's just me like fucking trolling. But when I'm like fucking, I don't even know. Like I feel like I don't know.
Well, so there's like you were like a little controversial, I guess, with Erin and Pixie, where you would like turn towards them and be like, well, I forget what it was you asked them at one point where you're like, I just want to ask them something. How much of a whore does somebody have to be before you call them a whore or something like that?
No, okay. So I actually said, so at what point, it was on the topic of transgenders in bathrooms. I think my question was something like, how masculine in the face does someone have to be before you get uncomfortable in the bathroom with them? And that was a legitimate question. That wasn't me trolling. That was just me like trying to insert my whatever, just genuine curiosity, genuine wanting to start a conversation, wanting to start a dialogue, which is near impossible to do when everyone's yelling over you. So in that show, like, God bless Brian, but everyone's just shouting over each other. You don't really get opportunities to speak. And whenever I could speak, it was like I had to piggyback off of someone else's statement, and that's how I would be heard. I could never start my own shit because I was getting shut down before I could even speak by MLD, who was sitting next to me, occasion chase, which is fine. It's fine, but like I could never really insert my own opinion into the conversation, which made it look like I was just blindly agreeing with whoever, when personally that's not the case. I I was trying to start conversations, believe me, but the only times I was ever heard was when I would like either piggyback off of someone else's statement or when I would very stupidly insult someone, really. But that transgender comment was genuine, me trying to start a dialogue, me trying to like, stir something up.
Well, so okay, so because yeah, it didn't seem like you got in very much, or at least when you did get in, it was like a one statement, and then they would like move on to somebody else pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
let's have a short back and forth on this then. So on like trans people in bathrooms, do you think like if somebody is very feminine looking, do you know who Blair White is?
I know who she is, yeah.
So if Blair White like walked into a bathroom, do you think that you would have an issue with that, or that would make you feel uncomfortable, or do you think they have to be very masculine looking in order for them to make you feel uncomfortable?
Me personally, I would feel kind of threatened if it was a masculine person. It's like if they're very, very masculine looking, Chris Chan. If it's Chris Chan showing up in a bathroom, I'm gonna be like, oh shit. But if it's Blair White, if she's feminine presenting, I'm gonna be like, okay, this is okay. I think it's just a matter of like upon first glance whether or not you feel comfortable, which is why I aimed that question towards them. I was asking like, at what point does your safety, like at what point does someone else's comfortability trump over your safety? That's what I was asking them. But me personally, like I have a lot of transgender friends, but if I saw like a really, really manly looking woman go into the bathroom, I'd be like, oh shit, like what the fuck are you doing in here?
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, the point that Destiny was trying to make is that I guess in Sweden, like they don't even have gendered bathrooms, and that they don't seem to have like problems with anybody ever having like assault issues, or at least not more than the United States does. So
the assault rates in Sweden are actually pretty high, and the author of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Stieg Larsson, actually wrote that at a time when they were at their all-time highest, so I would argue against that to an extent. And whether or not they occur in a bathroom or not is completely besides the point, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that the assault rates in Sweden are pretty high, and I don't really appreciate, well, you can't really just mention Sweden specifically. This is about America, not you, and like this is about America, but
well,
I don't know.
I think they're bringing it up to say that it's possible for there to be like two different genders using the bathroom, and then I think it was Destiny and John Doyle who ended up talking about the fact that they like changed the way that they categorize a sexual assault, and so the numbers are just way higher than everybody else's because they count way more things than the rest of us do. And so somebody just like patting you on the back all of a sudden gets counted as a sexual assault because you invaded their space without consent or some bullcrap like that. And so they end up like having much higher numbers, when generally that's probably similar to the United States and everywhere else.
Yeah. At least in the United States, with my legal knowledge, I'd say that legally there are different terms for sexual assault. Like rape cannot be rape unless it's like, well, according to law, rape cannot be rape unless it's a woman and a man, that sort of thing. But then there are different like sexual, there's like sodomy, there's a bunch of stuff. So yeah, it is kind of like put into fragments. But
okay,
at least legally, at least in legal terms, I'd say.
The
like there's like spousal rape, there's a ton of stuff that might interfere with statistics, sure. But
so was there anything else on there that you felt like you didn't really like get across, or that you felt like you were kind of cut short on?
Yeah, I really wanted to talk about just the influence that big companies like TikTok have on like children, just like the media and stuff, how everything is like starting to be like exclusively left leaning, sort of, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the influence that shit like that has on kids' minds, and how it it doesn't groom them, but it sort of conditions them to think that one way of thinking is right, one way of thinking is wrong. Like you'll see people like Sam Smith, and you'll see a bunch of stuff like that, and that's like what is in the view of the child, and they can't really formulate their own opinion outside of the echo chamber, because one way is right, one way is wrong.
Yeah, I get that argument. The issue that I generally have with that is that TikTok goes off of what everybody else likes, and what everybody else likes is what gets pushed more. And so the more people like something, the more it gets pushed. And so it's not like they're like picking like, ooh, this is really gonna piss off the conservatives, so let's make sure we push this, or this is really gonna help the, the woke agenda, so let's push this. Like,
Oh no,
they
I
kind
know
of
that.
just, whatever people like is what goes. And if
Yeah.
conservatives were more active on TikTok, or like actually practice their values on TikTok, then more conservative type stuff would get pushed
Yeah.
a lot more.
Yeah, that's just to say that it's like sort of like a group effort in that regard. Like, it's sort of like a group, like as a group, people are just pushing this, and it's just being reinforced over and over and over again.
So what would they do to fix that?
I have no idea. I don't give a fuck, quite frankly. But I just wanted to bring that in. Like, I'm the kind of person who like says, "Hey, this is a problem," but I don't really offer a solution, because like I can't be bothered. I don't have TikTok. I don't give a fuck. But like I'd say, I don't know. I'd say a lot of people are unwilling to open a dialogue. A lot of people are unwilling to have a conversation about it, which is pretty ironic because I was sort of closed-minded about Destiny's open relationship, which I really regret being closed-minded about. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are afraid to express their opinion nowadays. Like, if you go on a college campus and if you say anything remotely conservative, and this might be because I live in California, people are going to shut that down immediately. They're going to call you names. They're going to call you racist. They're going to call you literally everything under the sun, but they'll never want to hear what you have to say. And that's what keeps them ignorant. And I think this ignorance is it's just destroying people. It's really dividing people. No one ever wants to have a conversation about anything. No one ever wants that because they're comfortable in their own little bubble where they feel safe. And they don't want to change their point of view.
Thankfully, most of them grow out of that once they get out of college. It
Yeah,
seems to be like a
yeah.
very radical thing while you're young, and then you get older and start to realize that everybody can't bend to your every feeling.
Yeah, and I realize that's incredibly hypocritical of me because I was going off on Destiny or whatever. I was doing this, and that, and I want to apologize for that. I want to apologize for being so close-minded. I think it was just in the heat of the moment. I just wanted to prove my point. I just wanted to get that out there. I didn't really care about whether or not, I just thought about how it would work out for me. Like, hey, if I was in an open relationship, I don't think that would work out. Like, and I was sort of projecting my own feelings of, I don't think this is going to work out onto that. Like, who knows if that's going to work out for him. Personally, in my opinion, from what I've seen from other people, I haven't ever seen an open relationship work out. But, if that's what he wants to do with his life, so be it. But I think it's the kind of ignorance that I showed that night that is sort of dividing people, really. Like, the unwillingness to hear other people out. That's what's corrupting us.
What made you change your mind on the open relationship stuff?
I haven't changed my mind about the open relationship stuff. I still don't fuck with it personally. But I realize that like a lot of me, like a lot of what I believe in has to do with free speech. Like, and sort of, I'm very anti-echo chamber. And I feel like that night I sort of went home like, oh shit, like I just completely just threw away all my values just to, shit on this guy. So it's not a matter of whether or not I believe in open relationships. If he wants to do that, he can do that. I might be mildly disgusted with that, sure. But the principle of it is that I was very closed-minded, and that's not something that I usually align with, Like, there will be stuff that I am genuinely disgusted with, like OnlyFans. That's something that sort of gets under my skin. That's something that sort of bothers me, But like, and I'm going to critique them for it. But I feel like I was really closed-minded that night, and that's what I regret. Like, I'm willing to hear people out, and I'm willing to disagree with them, but I don't want to, be so, I don't know. I don't know where I'm
What's the
getting.
difference? So that's what I want to know is, what is the difference between what you did and then what you would do otherwise? Because, like, what is it that you did that you regret?
I regret being so mean about it. Like, and this is not just because I'm receiving backlash. This is just because I'm like, oh shit, Like, I could have been more civil about it. There are a ton of ways I could have went about it. I could have used far less insults. I could have done X, Y, and Z. But what happened, Like, and I talked to him after. He's a down-to-earth guy, a genuinely down-to-earth guy. I talked to him. He's kind of awkward. Like, some of his shit is gross. But you know what? I think he's a good person, like, on the inside, I guess, to an extent. But I don't know. Like, I kind of wish that I would coexist with that kind of shit, rather than, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm saying.
So I guess it sounds like what you're saying is that you regret insulting him and not just like challenging the ideas. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
that's what I regret. That's what I regret. Just not challenging the idea, I guess. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Is
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's something that I definitely need to work on. I need to work on challenging the ideas and not the person. Because just shitting on their character, that's not going to bring me anywhere, you know? That's not going to bring anyone anywhere. Like, if someone were just to shit on my character, I'd be like, oh, can you actually provide me constructive criticism? And, like, I don't know, I sort of came to terms with that. And I'm like, oh, shit, I really need to change that about myself. Like, I really need to stop just throwing one-liners at people. Otherwise, I'm going to end up like MLD, just fucking drunk in a chair, fucking spouting random-ass shit. Like, I don't want to end up like that.
Well, so
But
that's the thing I was actually going to ask you about next. So you were saying that MLD like kept putting his arm around you and that was
yeah,
making you feel uncomfortable.
I don't really want to get too into it. I don't want to cause any drama, but yeah, that sort of made me uncomfortable. Like, it's kind of weird, kind of icky, kind of stank. You know, I mean, if he's gonna go on a podcast and start saying shit about how he had to deal with my autism, I might as well like kind of
Sure.
insert my own piece. You know, I had
Well,
to deal
he's
with.
not kind to other people either. He rips into pretty much everybody.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that, and that's what I do at the same time. And like, I don't know. He's 30. Like, I think he should be. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. He was just sitting next to me. He reeked. He really smelled like if you were to go into a 13-year-old locker room with a bunch of 13-year-old boys and you smell immediately the scent of Axe body spray just permeates your nose. It burns your fucking nostrils. That is what I had to endure for 4 or 5 hours straight.
My
Just that
goodness.
it was just terrible. Like, it's like he went into a little boy's locker room and fucking rolled around in their sweat and in their fucking odor and just walked in on set like, yeah, that's good. That's what it felt like. It was just like, but you know, anyways, I wanted to sit next to Mary, honestly. I was gonna sit next to Mary, not Chase, sorry. Brian sat me and Mary together, and then MLD came in kind of late, and then he kind of sat between us, like situated himself. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I don't really mind that. I don't really mind sitting next to men. I don't give a fuck. You know, I never really feel uncomfortable around men. But he was a bit different, you know? Like, he kept on getting up, going to the bathroom, taking shots. Like, there was like a whole entire 12-pack of White Claws, and I think he's the one who drank them. Like, and like, it was just, I don't know.
He was. I saw him over and over, like pointing at his cup to like the producers, like.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy's kind of like a dick, you know? Like, he's kind of a dick. Like, I'm like, wow, he just reminded me of like a drunk uncle that no one wants to be around. Like it's the kind of your mom like whispers in your ear, oh, stay away from him. Like, that's what it kind of reminded me of. And like, he kept on like putting his arm around my chair and like just like fucking, I think he might have touched Mary. I don't know. Like, and he did say during the podcast, you know, like, it wasn't until I was 35 until I learned boundaries. I'm like, well,
It's a little ironic.
yeah. Yeah. So I felt uncomfortable the entire time. And like, I was just sitting there, like, kind of like leaning forward. I don't know if anyone noticed, but I was leaning forward.
We pointed it out. I was like, she's like leaning way forward and his arms over here, like on the chair.
Yeah. It was just like, I don't know. I don't really like being, I don't know. It was just uncomfortable for me. And it really made me even more irate than I already was in the beginning. Of course, that's not to excuse my behavior. That's not to say that, oh, I'm being a bitch because some creepy dude's touching me. That's not to say that at all, but it definitely played into it. It definitely made me like, I want to get the fuck out of here. Like, it's pissing me off. Like, I don't want to, you know, and I understand I could have left any time, but, you know, I mean, I might as well just ride it out. You know, I don't want to fucking leave
Sure.
because some guy's touching me, you know?
Yeah,
When
it
you're
wouldn't
just
be fair
incredibly
for
honest.
you. Yeah, it wouldn't be fair for you to miss out like on an opportunity because he's kind of being creepy. Is he just like putting his arm on the chair and just incidentally touching you, or is he like putting like his hand on your back or like rubbing your back or what?
He
Like,
put his hand on my back a few times. I can't really remember because sometimes I just dissociate when shit like that happens.
sure.
But I don't know. It was just weird. Like, I'm not hating on him. I mean, low key, I kind of am, right? This is low key. You know, I don't want to cause any drama, but it was just sort of like an uncomfortable situation. I mean, the room was pretty tight. It was pretty compressed. It was pretty close. So I think either way, I would have been uncomfortable physically. But it definitely played into it. I was definitely like, oh, this man who's like 37 is fucking like older than my dad. Like, it's just like, you know. But you know, fuck it
Yeah.
though. Like, his life, fuck it. Like, I don't really care. Like, I mean, I was uncomfortable for maybe 4 or 5 hours. You know, it's not really
Well, he
affected.
was doing it. If you watch it back, he's putting his arm around like Mary's chair as well, and it seems like she starts like leaning forward as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Poor Mary. I feel bad for her. Me and Mary didn't really get along, but I fucking feel bad for her. Like, I don't know. I'm not like fucking calling him Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not saying, oh, Brian's next guest next week will be fucking Harvey Weinstein. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like I wanted him to hop off my fucking nuts. Cause like he every once in a while he'd go up to the mic and say some like, yeah, fuck the homos. He'd say some shit like that. I'd be like, bruh, like I'm like, is that how I am? I'm like, holy shit, is this how people see me? And it was just like he'd just say some like out of pocket shit, and I'd be like, dude, like, and he
that's
fucking
pretty
agreed.
similar to the first show that you were on, where you're saying stuff like, what did you say? Like, I don't want to fuck a hoe. Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to fuck a hoe.
Fuck fat bitches. But it's just kind of like, I don't mean to be hypocritical at all. Yeah, I understand that, but it's kind of weird when it's like a 37-year-old man. You're like,
Sure.
you know, not to diss him or anything, but it's just, I don't know. It kind of gave me a wake up call. Like watching back on it, I'm like, holy shit. Like I'm gonna be 37. I'm gonna be sitting in a chair next to a bunch of people like 10 years younger than me. I'm gonna be fucking robbing the cradle and shit. I'm gonna be fucking drinking 12. Like I don't like every time I see White Claw now, I fucking shudder. I'm like, oh my god. Like I'm gonna be fucking drinking White Claws. Like I'm like, oh my god. Like I don't know. I don't know. Like I'm grateful for having been on the podcast. Don't get me wrong, but like I didn't really fuck with him. Like he'd make comments about my autism, which is fine. Like I'm fine if someone calls me a fucking retard and tells me to get back on the short bus. Like I'm fucking fine with that. But like it's just like it was kind of weird because like he's kind of like old.
Yeah,
A little
probably a little too old.
Yeah, like I mean I'm fucking fine with that. But like I don't really like him mentioning me on other shows and shit. Like how he had to deal with autism. Like
What did he say about you on
like,
another show?
just look in the mirror and you'll be dealing with that for however long as you stand in front of it, bro.
Oh
like,
yeah, you said he said that on. He was talking about you on Fresh and Fit, right?
Allegedly, yeah. Apparently, like someone said, oh, he said he had to deal with autism, and like a couple people confirmed that for me, like because I don't really want to fucking watch that, you know. Like he looks like a, I don't know. I know he's kind of slimy, you know. I don't really, yeah. I will regret talking shit about him like this. I'm gonna wake up to a bunch of fucking cats and blenders, a bunch of videos of cock and ball torture just because I called some 35-year-old kind of weird. But it is what it is, you know. Like maybe that's how he normally is, you know. Maybe that's just him, and if that's how he is, I apologize, you know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's probably pretty hard to walk around in like an undershirt and then a dress shirt and then a suit and suit pants all day. He's probably sweating like crazy all freaking day.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He was fucking like red in the face and shit. I mean, I've been to Anime Expo. I've seen actual creeps. You know, I've been like fucking. I've gotten my whatever touched at Anime Expo, like X, Y, and Z touch at Anime Expo. Like I've had fucking people go out to me like I've had that happen to me, which is whatever, you know. But I don't know. I'm just explaining why I was particularly irate.
sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you said, you and Destiny like ended up getting along afterwards. Did you guys talk
Yeah.
after the show, or is that was that towards the end of the show? Because I think I missed like the
Towards the end
last
of the
10,
show.
15 minutes.
Towards the end of the show, I was like, you know what, like I appreciate how cordial this guy is. I appreciate how civil he was. Actually, at the beginning, like pre-show, like I went up to him and he's like, oh God, I think I recognize you. And he's like, you're that girl. And then like I extended my hand to shake his, and he sort of didn't want to shake my hand. And he's like, why would I shake your hand? I'm like, well, because it's a civil thing to do. And yeah, so that sort of set things up. But you know what? I honestly, I could see where he's coming from, you know. I guess it's just shaking hands. I don't know. But towards the end of the show, I sort of warmed up to him. I was sort of like, oh, like I appreciate how he's like, you know, not going about it all fucking retarded. I appreciate how he's willing to have a conversation, and that's something that I could admire in a person. It's everything that I wish I could do. It's everything that I want to work towards. So at the end, I'm like, sort of like, oh, and then I mentioned The Witcher because he mentioned The Witcher earlier. I'm like, sort of like, oh, because he said there's a bunch of titties in The Witcher, and I kind of lightly reminded him, like, oh, well, at the beginning of the game, Geralt's dick and balls are out, just in case you forgot that. And then we just started talking about video games on there. And then at the end, towards the end of the show, I caught him in the hallway and I talked to him for a bit, and like I apologized. I'm like, I'm sorry for calling you a cuck. I didn't know that it wasn't you thought that was a cuck. I didn't know it was your wife that was a cuck. Like, I'm sorry for calling you a cuck. And then I think I asked him a question like, would you consider yourself a manlet? Like, just playfully though, just playfully. Like, it was just banter, really. So I did get along with him. Like, I don't really like having like beef with people. That's just. And I realized I exposed myself to situations. Like, I put myself in the situation where I will have beef with someone. And then I kind of cry about it. I'm like, fuck, they hate me. But I'm the one who brought myself there. And all I could really do is work on not bringing myself there, But, yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't really want to make amends with MLD. Honest to God. But, yeah, we did get along in the end.
Yeah, MLD was already, wasn't he all, I felt like he was like snapping at you pretty quickly because you said some stuff about Sneeko being a cuck. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why he's riding the meat of someone like 20 years younger than him, but sure.
He was with, so you were with, I think, was it Farha the first time you were on?
Yeah, Farha, yeah.
Last night he was with Farha and Sneeko, doing like Sneeko set him up on like a blind date with each other, and Farhad just ended up like trolling him the entire time. It was kind of funny, actually.
Yeah,
but that's who you met night one, was Farha, right?
Farha, yeah. I think she's really intelligent, and honestly, I went on there to troll. I was acting nasty towards her, and I want to apologize for that too. Like, I know, like, oh, like, it might seem that I'm like just I get all this hate, so now I'm sort of backtracking. It's not that I'm backtracking. It's sort of like I'm realizing, like, oh, like, this kind of shitty behavior is not getting me anywhere. It's just going to make people, like, I'm fine with trolling podcasts. I'm perfectly fucking fine with it. Like, and I'm perfectly fine with having my gay little one-liners that don't even hit. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I don't want people to think, like, I'm a genuinely malicious human being who, like, wants people to fucking, I mean, I'll have my opinions. Sure, I'll call people whores if I think they're a whore, But, like, I wish I didn't have so much venom in my words. I wish I could gracefully get that point across. I wish I wasn't so blunt sometimes. But I think Farah's a sweet girl. I liked her arguments. I liked them. I think she was out of her element in the sense where, like, the people who she was talking to. I mean, I like those people too. Fuck it. I liked everyone. I liked everyone. Like, I don't ever dislike someone. Like, it might seem like I dislike someone. And that's okay. Well, it's not okay, but I don't ever dislike someone. I'm never, like, malicious towards them. I'm sort of like there's no one that I hate, there's, I don't know. I think I'm a deeply confusing human being. Like, I can see the confusion on your face, but I think I'm just trying to navigate shit. I'm just trying to figure myself out.
I'm not confused. The space that I exist in, we all talk politics. We're all like a bunch of streamers, but it's entertainment at the same time. And so there's always people making fun of each other, calling each other out, being super like aggro towards one another, going full schizo, and on Twitter and on their streams. We do entire panels with like 10 people on there all screaming and yelling at each other. So this is like what you're doing on whatever podcast might be rare for whatever podcast, but for Destiny, that's like his whole freaking life. Like, that's the way he engages with people all the time. So it was
I guess so. I guess, like, I'm more on the topic of like being an entertainer. I guess I'm more of an entertainer than I am like a whatever you want to call it, like a professional debater. I guess I'm there for entertainment purposes, not really for like a intellectual conversation. And I'd like to be there for an intellectual conversation, but I feel like I don't really have the presence for that. Well, not yet, at least. Like, I can't really, like, you saw the way that people were speaking over me. You saw that, right? I can't really be present on whatever. I mean, I am an actress. I do theater. I do a lot of theater. And I do like playing a bit. I do like playing a character. I like feeling like I'm funny, even though nobody thinks I'm funny. I like laughing at my own jokes in my head. you know? Like, maybe if the topics on that podcast weren't so polarizing, I could do way better. You know, maybe if it was just like some casual thing. Maybe where like I feel like I want to be better informed on some of the shit that I'm saying. You know, I don't just want to like insert some random. I don't want to say some fucking random bullshit and like not be able to back myself up. You know, I still want to learn. I mean, like a lot of people are saying, how the fuck is this girl ever gonna end up a lawyer? Well, that I kind of separate the law shit from the whatever shit. You know.
Sure, but like going to a law firm, they may not separate it. You know, they may want to look into your internet history or something like that. And I think they even talked about that on the show as well, as whether or not somebody should be looking into internet history of somebody. So yeah, that's definitely, I mean, I employ people and I hire people and I go look into their history and like the stuff that they do on the internet.
I get that a lot. Like, I'm not really sure what I want to do yet. I do want to have a career in law, you know, and I realize some of what I say, like, really does affect it. It's really not really. But at the same time, like, I like being an entertainer. So it's sort of like I'm at an odds, you know, I'm sort of like in a very, you caught me at a very strange time in my life. Let me just say, like, it's a very strange time. I'm still navigating. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm not going to like obviously I'm not gonna go out and start like saying fucking racist crazy ass shit. You know, what I say is pretty mild compared to what others say, but it's still pretty problematic. Yeah. But I don't know. Like I kind of live life as if I'm gonna die tomorrow.
It's okay. And maybe you can decide to say racist stuff when you get older.
No. I got that all out. I said all that shit like when iDubbbz was like still before iDubbbz was fuck, you know, I got all the racism. I got all that. Like pre-George Floyd, I was fucking dropping like the nastiest fucking slurs. I'd hop into a game and like before anyone could even say anything, I'd just fucking scream as loud as I can, as loud as could. Like I don't know. I was, and I liked it. I was fun. I was good at it. Like I don't know. Like I don't know who I am yet. Like I want to figure out, but I don't want to be so terrible. You know, I don't want to be so nasty. Like, I want to be more, I want to make people feel good, but at the same time, I don't want to be a pushover. I don't want to be, I don't know. I'm just deeply confused.
Yeah. It's probably like it's always like a hard medium to find where like you're an edgy person and you want to say crazy stuff, but then there's also a lot of people who are going to get offended at the same time. You got to kind of prioritize which one you care about more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to offend people, but I don't really want to offend them on a personal level like I have been. Like I don't really want to like make comments on them as a person. I want to make comments on like some of the stuff they're into, you know. I don't really want to fucking call people names and shit. Like I want to be able to maintain the edginess, maintain all that shit, because that's just a part of me. I've always been edgy. I've always been a fucking cringe ass motherfucker, you know. But like I want to be able to like, I don't know, do it in a way where it's not so, I don't know, cringe. I don't know.
Well, so let me ask you, was Melina streaming when she got there? Because you said she had a camera.
Sure, actually. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with that shit. Like, basically, I was there just standing outside, and then she just stuck a camera in my face, and then I was sort of like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I'm like, you know? So it's sort of like...
Did she say anything? Like, hey,
yeah,
like,
said,
say hey to stream or something?
She's like, oh, look, Steven, it's your something number one enemy, some shit, like your whatever. And I was sort of like, because like I was kind of caught off guard by that. But you know what? God bless both of them. I don't really like, they can do whatever they want. You know, I'm not part of that anymore. Like in the 4 hours, yeah, I guess I was in their lives, but now I'm like gone. You know, like it's like.
Well, I mean, you didn't even know
at the end of the day, like what?
Right?
Huh?
You didn't even know who they were, right?
I did not know who they were. I did not know who they were because I saw Destiny defending Farah in the chat or whatever. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was a streamer. I'm just like, I just thought it was some random guy. So I'm like, oh, this guy seems like a cuck. You know, this guy seems like a loser, you know? Like, because like he was just like, oh, this is sad about Farah. I'm like, dude, like I just thought it was some simp, honest to God, right hand to God. I thought it was a simp. So like I just fucking said that shit. But then next thing you know, like people are saying, why the fuck would you say that? Like, do you have any idea who that is? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, oh, it's a streamer. I'm like, oh, Oops.
Yeah,
Like, but
I
still, I mean, I
it's a
wouldn't.
it's a safe
Back.
bet generally. Generally a safe bet with people who are donating on whatever podcast if
Yeah,
they're if
know that. I wouldn't know that. I just thought it was like a bunch of people who like had like what's it called, disposable income, you know?
well, no, that's what I'm saying is I think like I I think that you're right to assume that generally if people are donating you're if you're calling them like simps or cocks or something like that, like generally you're going to be correct. It's somebody who just like wants to white knight for a girl or some crap
Yeah,
like that.
that's
So
what I thought it was. That's what I thought it was. And then a bunch of people said, "Oh, you like obviously you know who Destiny is," but honest to fucking God, I did not know who Destiny was. Like I sort of stay in my own little bubble, you know. Like I like to play video games, but I don't really like to watch streamers. Like I'll play video games, you know, but like I mean, I know a couple of people like Video Game Donkey. He's one of my favorites, honestly. Like if I'm thinking about YouTubers, but I don't really watch streamers. Like I never really have fun with that shit. So I genuinely would not know. Like I know a few people in like right wing spaces. Like I know like, you know, pretty much everyone knows. But like other people, no, not really. Like I don't know, like I just don't give a fuck, you know? Like I don't give a fuck. Like I think that's
Okay.
just my issue. I just don't give a fuck.
um
Which gets me into a lot of trouble.
I told people if they wanted to come on and ask questions that they could jump in the waiting room, but we don't have anybody who wanted to ask any questions just yet. The there was something that I was going to ask you about from like some position that you had on the show that I'm blanking
Okay.
on now. I had it in my notes, but my computer restarted before I got home. So,
Mhm.
oh, abstinence.
Abstinence, yeah. So I grew up in a very, like I said, I grew up in a Christian cult. My parents are Jehovah's Witnesses, if you know what that is. The people who don't celebrate shit, the people who believe in Armageddon. Like, it's very, very intense. So I grew up in this space where it's like, oh, sex outside of marriage is not allowed. It's just a bunch of shit. So I guess it was sort of like cemented into my skull. Like there's a lot of guilt that comes with even engaging, even kissing someone. I feel sort of like, oh my God, like
Mhm.
well, what is God thinking? What are my parents thinking? You know, but at the same time, like I think I do believe in it to an extent. I'm like, you know, I don't want to do it with someone that doesn't love me. I don't want to do it with someone that could just leave me, drop me like that. I don't want to give something up so dear to me to someone who doesn't really, you know, with someone with the wrong intentions. So I do believe in that to an extent. I don't think people should follow it. I don't think it's for everyone, you know. I don't think abstinence is for everyone. I think that like there's a lot of good things that can come out of it, a lot of shit that you can avoid. Like you can avoid getting your heart broken, you could avoid a bunch of shit. I mean, you can get your heart broken, virgin or not, but I feel like there are a lot of repercussions that come with having sex recklessly, you know. But I myself practice it, and maybe it
That's
has something to do with the fact that like no one really liked me in high school, so it's sort of for like I guess at one point I would have been an involuntary celibate, you know, but at the same time I was offered it a few times in high school and I did say no each time. So I don't know. I think it just I'm not really ready to be vulnerable with someone in that context.
it's it really interesting that you call Jehovah Witnesses a cult. Are you a Jehovah's Witness?
My parents are, yeah, and I'm sort of like involved with that shit. Like
So
I
you
don't really
wouldn't consider yourself Jehovah's Witness?
I would consider myself a Christian. I'd consider myself I believe in God and I believe in like generally what Orthodox, well not Orthodox, like a lot of my values align with Christianity, but I don't think like specifically I'm a Jehovah's Witness, you know, I don't think so. Like and not to speak ill of the religion because, you know, they might be watching, but yeah, like I don't want to get shot. Like I don't want to get fucking like shot where I'm sitting, you know? But yeah, I guess a lot of my values just stem in Christianity, so I don't know. I guess I'm Christian.
I grew up a Christian. My dad was a pastor. My brothers are both pastors. I grew up believing I was going to be a pastor when I was older. Planned on going to seminary. I was like taught Sunday schools when I was younger and all sorts of crap like that. And then within I guess probably the last like 6 months, I just realized like I don't even think I believe in any of this crap. Like I've always just kind of done this stuff, but I don't think I ever really believed in it, and I always like convinced myself that I believed in it, and I cared a lot about like abstinence, and kind of like you said, like I'm always afraid like just by kissing somebody that I'm doing something wrong, and it kind of it messes with your head in like the way that you're programmed within like sexual situations. And now that I'm older, I kind of look back and think, damn it, dude, I wish I had figured all this out way earlier.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm figuring out right now. Like, obviously, I'm still gonna have my right wing opinions. You know, I'm gonna still think that certain shit is kind of. I'm not gonna agree with certain shit. You know, and most of that, like I said, stems from the Christian upbringing. But I would consider myself a Christian no matter what. Like, but there are a lot of things that, like, in my parents' specific religion that I just don't agree with in general. Like, for example, like how every holiday is evil, or how there's going to be this crazy Armageddon and shit. Like, I don't really want to believe in that. I don't really want to have such a
what is the
pessimist.
what is the every holiday is evil thing?
So it's like a lot of holidays are rooted in have a lot of pagan origins.
Mhm.
Halloween, I understand, but it's just like they don't celebrate birthdays. So growing up, I never actually had a birthday. No one ever threw me a birthday party. I never was celebrated in that sense. I never had a Christmas. I never had a Halloween. I never had anything.
Wow.
And I know, I mean, I had a roof over my head, sure, but I'd see other kids like dressed up, and my parents would lock me inside during Halloween, and I'd watch from the window a bunch of kids dressed in like their Transformers outfits, wishing that it were me. I grew to hate candy because I could never have it on those days. I could never, I mean, I still don't eat candy. It's gross to me. It's just a bunch of bad memories. But I don't know. A lot of my life was spent from the inside looking out, watching the world. And now that I'm 20, now that I'm like in college, now that I'm experiencing everything for the first time, it's kind of overwhelming because my parents kept me in there. My parents still are very, very, very crazy. Like, I have cameras around my house so that they can watch me at all times. And it's just an uncomfortable feeling. Like, I understand it and I do appreciate the fact that they want to protect me, but there's a lot of shit in high school and in elementary, and like a lot of key points in my life that I missed out because of their overprotectiveness. And now that I'm out running around, I don't really know what to do with myself.
Did were you homeschooled?
No, I went to public school and
I
I
went to
suffered.
public school, but I was like, I kind of like what you're talking about. I was very sheltered. And like once I grew up, all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, the world is so different than everybody. It like in church tries to like convince you what the world is
Yeah,
like. It's so very different once you get out there.
yeah, and that's not to say that I think all religion is like this. I think it's just the religion that I grew up in, the specific denomination of Christianity that I was raised in. Because I do like Chase. I thought he was really cool. I admired him. I liked what he was saying. But I guess I don't know. I missed out on a lot growing up. So, which is, I mean, I have autism, sure, but I think like what really, really accentuated my social ineptness was the fact that I was sheltered so heavily. The fact that I couldn't go to birthday parties. I couldn't really hang out with certain people. Like I spent most of junior high like sitting under a water fountain reading Harry Potter because it wasn't like I'd have to read it like nonstop because if I brought that shit home, my parents would fucking throw it in the fire or some shit. But I don't know. I was very lonely growing up. I don't know. I feel like I'm trauma dumping.
No, I mean that's what I'm asking you about. Do your parents probably don't like your Instagram then, do they?
They haven't seen it. No. I mean, they probably have, sure, but I am considering taking those pictures down because they are a little bit promiscuous. A lot of the poses that I do are actually modeled after JoJo characters. So the one of me with like my belly button ring, that's supposed to be Jolene. Like, it's not really me trying to like whatever. Like, but like I don't know.
I mean, it's got to be both. You're not modeling after a specific person for no reason, right? Like you think that person looks good in the way that they're doing it,
I
so
love,
you're going to do the same thing.
yeah, and I like to like cheekily insert my own, you know, I don't know, but Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Like the shit that I want to post is not shit that people want to see. And I think like a lot of people have recognized, I do want validation from others because I really did not get that growing up. I didn't get it from my parents, I didn't get it from my peers. And now that I am getting just a little increment of it, it's just like it's that shit's addicting, and maybe people will make fun of me for this, but I just want to be transparent entirely about it. Like I want to at least feel something. I want to feel good. I think everyone does, whether or not they're willing to admit it. I think a lot of people do shit for validation. That's not to say that a lot of my viewpoints stem just from wanting the validation of males. No, because I agree with, I believe in what I say.